A small blonde girl was hiding in a crowd when she witnesses a truck sliding towards her. But curiously, the truck diverted itself away, and she saw a boy very calmly walking away from this accident, which she suspects he prevented. The girl then went to school. According to other animes, he is a transfer student, and his name is Sota. In a hurry, she stood up, and the girl proceeded to make place for Sota. He sat directly behind the blonde girl, Nanami, who she recognizes as the boy just this morning. During recess, his classmates come to befriend him, and Nanami glanced at him. Nanami caught sight of the other boy's head and read everything. Sota wanted to get out of this bothersome class, but was stopped by Nanami, who wanted to have a chat with him. Sota wanted to leave, but Nanami interrogated him on his weird behaviors. He would always look at the top of people's heads. She knows that he is hiding something and wants to know the truth. He tried to play it off, but Nanami kept insisting. In the end, Sota spilled the beans that he was able to see the flags on each person's head and knows exactly how to break them. He had shattered the love, friendship, and death flags. Nanami, though, scoffed at this idea. Sota was dead serious when he said, "I have to separate myself because I don't want anyone to be close to me. If they did, they would suffer misfortune." For a minute, Nanami recalled her past memories. Sota abruptly stopped talking and warned Nanami against getting close to him while discussing the most recent cruise ship catastrophe. Only Sota managed to survive. After a period of talking, Nanami asked if he noticed any flags on her head. There wasn't any, so she told him to stop seeming wary of the world in front of him. Of course there isn't. After Sota gave Nanami a sweet compliment, Nanami finally introduced herself. They shared a meal together during their lunch break, and one of the students approached Sota. Sota noticed that the girl had a friend flag on her head. He wanted to address her politely, but the girl kept insisting him to call her by her first name, Akane, which he eventually does. She was delighted when the boy addressed her by her name and extended an invitation for Sota for lunch. He refused multiple times, but her flag would just sprout back, so he had to submit. After some discussion, it was abruptly made known that Nanami was the princess of a little nation. Akane grew close and desired to be the bestest of friends with these two, even though they just met. Akane was such a wonderful person, and her flag was always self-restoring. So why was such a smart person like her approaching Sota? She pursued Sota after school and made the offer to accompany him home. Additionally, she had intended to visit Sota's home when the unfortunate flag happened. All of them went to Sota's home, but it didn't even seem to be a home for people. There was nowhere else for Sota to go, so this was the best he's going to get. When Sota was not present, Nanami questioned Akane about her desire to be Sota's friend, as she has come to flatter everyone else. She talked of growing up without friends, and how she wanted to please everyone because she was the granddaughter of a company's president. When the two were about to leave, Akane forgot something in Sota's room, so she ran back up the stairs, when all of a sudden, a death flag appeared over her head. The house was so worn down that Akane fell through the floor. Sota then went to find her and made several attempts to break the death flag, but it refused to break, and actually got darker. With no other choice, Sota chose to kiss Akane, and replaced the death flag with a love flag in its place. Episode 2. Back in time, Sota was resting on a cruise ship when his sister approached him. "We're on a vacation. You should find someone to play with." Sota believed that being alone was still preferable, because no one wanted to be friends with him, but was then proven wrong when a little girl dropped her hat and Sota picked it up for her. She then encouraged him to play a game with her. Back to the present, at school, Nanami labeled Sota as an animal because he dared to kiss Akane. Suddenly, a girl appeared and hugged Sota before pinning him to the floor. "I was worried about you because you didn't even pick up the phone." Nanami thought that Sota was an unfaithful guy, so physical force had to be used. This new girl, named Okiku, claimed to be nothing more than a childhood pal of Sota. She was in the same class as Sota because she had to repeat a class, and she also liked him a lot. After school, Sota took Okiku to his home, and she grieved since Sota lived in such a run-down place. She became enraged when she discovered that Sota had two close friends, but she was actually very happy that Sota finally made some good friends. In Okiku's eyes, Sota appeared miserable, she exclaimed. So Akane forced them to stand in a circle and spin together to show their friendship. Later, while on a train, a massive sister flag appeared on Okiku's head. Nanami insisted on breaking the flag. He tried to break it, but this flag was a skilled dodger. Then they came to the tea ceremony club, where they meet the oldest person of their school. a little lolly named Tsumugi. Okiku wanted to request that Tsumugi use the school budget to renovate Sota's house. However, that would take a lot of money, so she had to decline when the Mad Student Council president, Mimori, appeared. The president requested assistance from the professional construction club. Akane's classmates were also called along by Akane. Is anyone in this show normal? But this is still good anyways. Sota expressed gratitude to Akane and Okiku for their help. Nanami was upset, but couldn't explain why. Tsumugi then preached Sota about love and kindness, while the other three hurried to help fix the house. The shabby-looking house quickly expanded, surpassing the size of the affluent character's home. Sota was trying to help as well, by lifting a couch, but it was too heavy. Seeing someone nearby, he called out to that boy for help. Since he actually saw him as a male, the guy, named Megumu, his head came flying out hundreds of friendship flags. When Akane ran over and misinterpreted the scene, she was understanding of Sota. She was very supportive of everything, and when Okiku came down, she also thought the same thing. He had to clarify twice that Megumu is actually a boy. Later, when the house is finished, the group are informed that they needed 5 people to live here, or not it will be taken down. In the end, all 3 girls and boy decided to move in with Sota. Later, Okiku said that it was time for a bath, and as a result, only Sota and his only male friend with a girly appearance remained in the room. Unfortunately, Megumu felt a bit manly today, so he pulled Sota to the bath to peep on the girls. But Sota gets beaten up by Nanami for peeping. When Sota was returning to his room, he saw a death flag appearing from her room. He investigated and found an old letter which reminded him about the young girl he had met on the ship, who urged him to play chess. That young girl is the one that granted Sota the ability to see flags, and she also requested Sota to use that power to learn the truth about this world. Episode 3. In the morning, Sota is woken up by Akane. Nanami happened upon this and subsequently got into a dispute about it. But why did everyone have access to Sota's room? Akane borrowed a key from Okiku. Still, that doesn't answer his question. According to Akane, boys undoubtedly appreciate being woken up by attractive women. Nanami blamed this on Sota, and he is just confused on how this is his fault. But what surprised the 3 even more is that Megumu has been sleeping with Sota for who knows how long. Nanami cursed him for being an animal. Megumu then revealed that Okiku was the one that escorted him to Sota's room the night before. Our culprit enters the room and stated that breakfast was ready when a plane appeared out of nowhere and dropped off a large metal box. Everyone came down to see what has just arrived. The box opens, and what's inside was a robot girl. She descended from her box and said, "Greetings to residents of Crest Dorm. I'll be a resident of this dorm from now on. I hope that everyone will welcome me." The welcome caused her to drop her head, and she seemed a little bit off. Her name is Ruri. She is a robot created by Akane's family company and was sent here to assist Akane. Akane needed to enter a password in order to request something of her. Now Shota is surrounded by even more pretty girls. When Akane's parents heard that their daughter was with a dubious boy, they must have been concerned as well, so they sent this robot to keep an eye on things. The group didn't deny her though. They were very happy to have another resident. Sota even greeted her like a normal person, which made her blush. It was time for school, so everyone hurried. They expected that Ruri would stay home and look after the house, but they didn't anticipate her to go to school as well. She fitted in really well with everyone. Nanami also felt that Sota should learn proper behavior from Ruri. Suddenly, the school TV was showing bulletin boards. There was going to be a sports festival, and this year's scale was quite enormous. It will last a week, and each day will include many interesting activities. Everyone in Sota's harem wanted to participate with him. Everyone was overjoyed when the president arrived. She wanted to notify them that the dorm was about to be taken down again, because some people wondered why there were only 5 residents, yet it got rebuilt, as well as both boys and girls living with each other. "Are you jealous?" the president asked calmly, adding that if they wanted to clear away the dorm, then they should keep dreaming. The president began wagering that Shota's dorm would win the award of MVP. If they lost, then Sota would be expelled from school. Okiku was enraged that Sota would be dismissed from school, so she took out her anger on Mimori. The president said that she'll appoint someone to make sure that their dorm will win. All the girls came to comfort Sota. If he did leave, then they'll all leave with him. But this commotion was halted when a new girl named Rin came and told them that she'll be their leader in the upcoming sports festival. The next day, Rin woke up everyone so they can train, except for Okiku, who was sound asleep, and Ruri, who was charging. Even after an entire day of hellish training, Rin still forced Sota to run another lap. When Sota stopped to rest for a bit, Rin expressed that she couldn't understand why the girls were all interested in a loser like him. She used to have a male friend, but since that friend moved away, she hasn't had any contact with him. But who have guessed that that friend was actually Sota? Episode 4. When the sporting event finally arrived, Sota's team's objective was to win the title of MVP in order to avoid being kicked out, but no one explained how to win the title. Rin explains that they need to participate in as many events as possible, and also score the highest. The president and Tsumugi will serve as the event's commentators. The first event was a martial arts tournament, but Rin had already taken care of that, which was then followed by a cat blanket race where Ruri used her robot abilities to good use. She had been overjoyed since Nanami had won the princess competition, but in reality she was the only participant. The striker matchup came next. Sota, by looking at the striker's flag, managed to predict where the ball would be shot, and so he made it to the finals. It was only necessary to read the movements. Our trap boy was also recognized for a new record for running. He reveals that he used to belong to a track club. Akane had just completed and won her horse race. She also sought to advance Sota to the next round, but she was denied. Sota was then lifted up by the others after they noticed Akane's distress. The entire Sota team took first place in today's summary, but the amount of events were still plenty. It had only barely begun. The girls debated on who would be the best fit for Sota. Sota, however, stood up and went to the bathroom. He smiled as he grew accustomed to his new life. However, the death flag that was on his head was growing darker. The next day, if Sota can block the shot, then his dorm will win this category. But Sota has his head in the clouds and missed the ball. After Ruri analyzed everything, their group fell to 8th place. Later, Ruri approached Sota about why his performance has fell. He didn't want the other girls to hear him, so they went to the greenhouse to talk. Sota said that he was going to die soon. Ruri had no idea what it felt like to die, but she was aware of how people were frightened of death. Sota was even more concerned that his eventual death would lead to the girls being sudden. Everyone would be only somewhat unhappy if he was expelled, so he asked Ruri to handle things. Breaking other people's death flag was simple, but his was difficult. He suddenly recalled something from the letter. Ruri instantly triggered her program, having discovered a means to bypass the death flag. Sota instantly inquired about Little Sakura, and it was confirmed that such a name existed in Ruri's data. Ruri then showed a short clip of the past. Nanami was a knight, Akane was a magician, Ruri was a ninja, Sota was a king, and there was also a monk, but he's not sure who that is, and they ventured deep into the cave below the quest dorm together. Perhaps the location where they arrived was the first gate, which was opened and Sakura's voice could be heard. Ruri, on the other hand, was back to normal. Learning about this, Sota now had more strength. He said that he required Ruri's assistance and couldn't leave the dorm. In the morning, Sota encouraged everyone to try their best to win every event. Everyone tried with all their might for the sake of Sota. In the final event, Sota would run with Nanami on their final lap, but he had never seen Nanami's flag before. The two ran as fast as they can and showed a lot of promise of winning. They were on their final stretch to victory when Nanami injured her leg and was left behind by everyone. Sota, not wanting to give up, snatched up Nanami and bolted for the finish line. However, it wasn't enough, and they lost. But through the magical power of friendship, they triumphed, and the male lead always triumphs in anime. Episode 5. While crouching down feeling for something, the girls ran up to him. Akane had earlier asked Sota to date her at the sports festival, and Sota accepted. This confused Sota's harem, but everyone understood that this was for the sake of Sota. As a result, Nanami also participated in the dating. In fact, everyone would break off to go on a date with Sota. Ruri had a matter to look into, so she won't be participating. Sota was prompted by Nanami to buy her cake despite her rejection mouthing. The first person to have a date with Sota was Megumu, our trap boy. Even though he is a boy, but was mistakenly seen as a cute couple by many people around him. Now that Nanami was the only person left in the house, she could move around without being bothered. But she quickly stopped her foolishness. Megumu insisted that Sota help him because he was unable to retrieve the teddy bear. Sota succeeded in his first attempt because somehow one of the bears had a flag on it. Sota was certain that the dorms was responsible because he had just recently started to notice the flags after enrolling at the school. Seeing that Sota is spaced out, Megumu called out to him. Without further thought, he brought Sota to the ice cream parlor. Because the ice cream cup was too enormous for Megumu to finish, so Sota had to eat with him. Megumu asked Sota to wipe his face since some cream got stuck. While everyone was watching, Sota hesitated before cleaning Megumu's face with a tissue. Akane's appointment came next. She made a decision to go boating after consulting her parents. Because the couples that argued here was rumored to split up by her father. Since they weren't a couple, Akane reasoned that it would be alright. But she insisted in wanting to date Sota. Because she was so confused, she volunteered to row. Sota didn't feel right, so he decided to paddle with her. While paddling, an intimate act of cuddling made Akane blush. She covered her lips in embarrassment. Akane's clothes got soaked as well. Sota hurriedly said wanting to find a secluded place for Akane to change. Akane took Sota to a library that was very unpopular. This was also where she met her old friend. She had said she wouldn't forget Akane before, but she hadn't seen her in a while. Akane wanted to thank both Sota and her friend. This was followed by an appointment with the girl who had helped Sota at the sports festival the other day, Rin. The yandere flag was visible on her head, but a few sweet words made her gentle again. They sat in a park and watched the kids play, while reflecting about their earlier times playing together. Rin also brought pictures of them as young children, when they had fun every day. Sota wished that every day was just like that. As they come across another photo, which brought back some memories that Rin found embarrassing, she started to lose her cool. After an exhausting day, Sota continued to meet with Okiku while carrying Rin. Okiku's appointment was a bit of a fail, but that's okay because now she can have Sota lay his head on her lap. They talk fondly of their younger years. Sota offered her something and promised to grow up to be her younger brother. Everyone that day was content because it was a wonderful day. Episode 6. A gathering was hosted by the gods, who represented the false reality of the catastrophe-induced world. According to rumors, a person by the name of Sota was attempting to defy destiny. While in Sota's class, a new girl named Mei joined Sota's class that day as a new student. Once more, everyone surrounded Mei. She had the same ability as Sota to break people's flags. But then the girls approached and told Sota that he will be joining two separate groups, which he was forced to because of his academic scores were so low. He would visit both groups, going both up to the woodlands and to the beach, since everyone wanted to be in the same group as Sota. The entire class would be split into two groups, being sent up to the mountains and to the beach. Nanami was viewing the sea for the first time, and Ruri wanted to go swimming, so she had to prepare her waterproof gear. Megumu could swim, but he still brought his swimsuits, which he revealed. Out of tendency, Nanami poked Sota's eyes, even though Megumu was a boy. Tsugumi was also present. The girls wanted to have fun in the water and push Sota, but as soon as he touched the water, he immediately puked. It was later explained that every time he steps foot into the water, he was reminded of his past memories regarding the cruise ship incident. Tsumugi was so moved by his tragic past that she hugged Sota. It was exactly like grandmother and grandson. She then told everyone that they only needed to play and that she would look after Sota. She wanted him to become acclimated to the water, but Sota vomited every time he walked down. Later, he was sitting on a bench when a small girl saw Sota. She brought him a bottle of water which tasted like watered-down udon broth. When he looked at the girl's head, he saw the narrative flag emerged. Sota finished his ice cream and sat down beside her, remembering the letter as he heard her name. When questioned, she held on her hat tightly and fled. Sota and the beach girls then went to check on the land group. Akane came whining to Sota about having to study math. The land group was for students who did well in school. Akane grieved as she learned about Sota's difficult training since she loved him. Tsugumi, seeing how much Akane loved Sota, wanted them to soon get together and give her some grandchildren. When questioned about her age, Tsugumi displayed a photograph of herself in a kimono. They were halfway through their trip, according to the teacher, but being the bearer of bad news, she announces that students can now switch groups, which meant that Sota has to continue to stay on the beach with the rest of the girls. The little girl, Kurumiko, then reappeared unexpectedly. Because she made a slip of her tongue, she exposed the fact that she had lost her parents. She began selling products since her mother had taught her not to rely on anyone. Akane then arrives. Seeing the cute girl selling ice cream in his hot sun, she assisted her by buying her entire box. She needed to sell these popsicles to pay off her debts, and she appeared to be in financial difficulty. She went away happily when all her products were sold out. Sota followed her and was led to a hidden base. She came here frequently to recall her parents. And she had something that she hasn't told Sota. She had known about Sota before meeting him. She was the daughter of the crew of the ship that Sota was on. Caring for the little girl, Sota gave her support. Suddenly, the tide rose, and they were trapped in this hole. She wanted Sota to know that she wished for him to adopt her as his adopted sister if they survived. Her head showed death flags, so Sota concurred. The death flags disappeared, then reappeared on her head. She was then invited to a school by Sota, which finally made the death flags disappear for good. Rui then came to their aid, and so they were rescued. As they return to the beach, they see a mysterious girl waiting for them.